Project A is in the house, curing. Project B is over in the corner, soaking. Project C is in the trash, where it belongs, which leads us to Plan D. We're on Plan D. Got our piece of wood all chucked up. What I wanted to do was add a little bit of CA glue here to this section. I haven't used this before, we're going to give it a shot. Black CA glue, should just be able to put it right in there. It dries in a couple minutes, but if you don't want to wait, you can use accelerator. Whew. Oh, it's actually a pretty nice color. It's a 1/2-inch hole, and we're going to be putting an insert in there. And I just marked it with a piece of tape to let me know how far down to go. Put in the threaded insert. I put a little bit more CA on there, but honestly, the threads really should do the lion's share of the holding. Okay. Oh, that was on there pretty hard. That goes in there. Give it a good whack, just to make sure it's firmly seated. So the mandrel goes into the threads, and then the mandrel goes into the Jacob's chuck. So this is the circle cutting jig that I use for my bandsaw. And I have alluded to the fact that there are other jigs that you can use on it, but I haven't shown you any of them. This jig is a jig that fits in this slot and runs up and down. A deli slicer for wood. We're going to use this to mount a chuck on. Orientation like that. Now, because this sits on another platform, has some abilities as well. Right now this bolt is going into this slot, which allows me to move this forward and backward, and it also allows me to pivot. There, facing the blade at a severe angle. And there we go. We've got a nice clean cut at I don't know what angle. Alright, so this first half is mounted back on the lathe, and now that I'm looking at it, I think it's going to be difficult to get it exactly perfect. And this is black locust that I'm working with here. And I think it's going to contrast nicely with the walnut. And I'm honestly just going to hold it until it starts to get tacky. Feels like it's holding on its own. Now, as long as these two sides of this piece of locust were cut parallel, then this should match up. But that's why we did it at this stage when the handle is a little large. So we have some room. We have some room for slot. We could make a very strange handle like this. It'd really mess us up. This would have been a lot easier to clamp if I hadn't done such a severe angle. But if I hadn't have done such a severe angle, it wouldn't look as cool. Usually glue-ups are a stress. This is actually just the opposite. That looks pretty good. It's not a huge amount of ghosting there, which means we're pretty much in line. Let's see what happens. Just gonna nick off some of these corners here. I'm going to bring out the skew just to show off. Dang it. Okay, it's all glued up and clamped back between centers. I guess that's what I get for boasting. And you'll notice that I'm working with my gouge because my skew is on a time out. Tool shaming. It's a thing, I think. And then we can move on to sanding time. Which, had I pulled off all my fancy skew work, sanding time would have been pretty nice. Did you hear that, skew? You ruined sanding time. 150, 180, 240, 320, 400, 600, 800. Okay, we're all done with that one. Turn the lathe on super slow, 100 RPMs. A little wipe on poly. You just screw the threads right in. And there it is, you've made a custom handle for, in this case, a pizza cutter, which is actually a beast. This was not the video I had planned to release in January, but it was fun, and I had a good time. Walnut is beautiful. It's one of my favorite woods to turn. I get it here locally. It's actually sold in 20-pound bags as firewood. And this other wood is black locust, and I really like the contrast of the black locust. I think it has a nice, warm feel to it, and kind of interesting. Black locust does, in fact, fluoresce under a black light. So projects A and B, I think, are going to happen. So look for those in the future. I have a lot of ideas for the bandsaw jig. I actually had an idea to make several cuts on this project, and after the first cut I said to myself, what are you doing? We're on plan D. I'm gonna leave you with my black locust video from 2015. I do the entire thing in the dark under black light. Super dangerous. Do not recommend it. If you haven't seen it already, you might actually really enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.